Strap in because this interview is going to make you feel like you're going back in time.
So you want to live in a white-only country?
Not necessarily white-only, but a country that is clearly based on a European model in which whites will basically remain the overwhelming majority in perpetuity.
Okay, how do you achieve that?
Well, that's an excellent question. Donald Trump has got some first good steps in mind. He wants to make sure no more illegal immigrants come into the country, and he wants to make sure that all illegal immigrants here go back. He wants to end birthright citizenship. He wants to put at least a temporary ban on Muslim immigration.
What happens with Asians? What happens with African Americans? What happens with Latinos?
What happens to my
You presented me with a very limited view of the United States.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen. So in today's episode, we came across a very interesting video, and this was of a palm-colored person who was being interviewed, and in his own opinion, he was saying that America should belong to only palm-colored people, and in his opinion, he wanted Latinas and Black Americans to be resettled somewhere else that is not America. And this is because in his own version, he thinks that African people are very stupid, followed by African American people who are equally stupid as Africans. And then he says, when it comes to the spectrum of intelligence, palm-colored people are the only people who are intelligent.
Yeah.
This he also goes to say the only people who can be compared to palm-colored people when it comes to intelligence is North Asian people.
Yeah, and he specifically mentions the North Asian people, right?
Yeah, so if you're from the east of Asia, west of Asia, south of
Wherever,
Asia, you might be just as dumb as the Africans.
Right. So guys, it's quite interesting that a palm-colored man would go in on an interview, because it's not a recent interview, okay?
Right.
And in his interview, he was saying how he wanted Donald Trump to win and why he would be the best person to lead America, because he believed that Donald Trump would put measures in place to make sure America becomes a white-only state.
America, in short, America becomes clean, and by cleanliness, all immigrants and people who are not palm-colored should be relocated out of America.
How he packaged his words, he said that he wanted the borders to remain and only white. Let's see how far that takes him. Anyway guys, before we talk too much, let's play you the video and then we come back and talk about it. Let us know what you think about this episode in the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here.
You're saying the United States is a place anybody can come and turn it into anything you want, and the people who built this country and established its institutions, if they glimmer away, so what? You are promoting a process that will reduce my people to a minority. You want more power for Latinos. That comes at the expense of my people's power.
We're 17% of the population,
Right.
and we only have 3 senators. So therefore, we don't have the political representation that we deserve.
And you want more and more and more.
Of course, because we only have
How
3
much?
senators.
How much political?
At this point, 14 senators.
And 50 years from now, how many would you like?
Let's talk about 50 years from now. In 2044,
Yes.
white non-Hispanics will become a minority.
Yes.
Is that what you're afraid of?
Mr. Ramos, it's fantastic for you, for my people to lose power and become a minority. That's fantastic for you. How does it feel for
Because
me?
it is our country, Mr.
Our
Taylor.
country, our
It is our country. Don't you think we both have the same rights in this country?
I think that despite this nonsense in the Declaration about anybody being anyone, white people,
you don't
the white
think
people.
we are all created equal?
No. What you want to do is change this country into an entire nation in which white people will become refugees in their own land
So
if your vision comes through.
You don't want to live alongside Mexicans?
Now, why is it wrong for me not to want my neighborhood to change?
You'll
If
be-
my neighborhood is European, if my neighborhood they don't keep chickens in the backyard that crow at 3 in the morning.
What are you
they
talking
don't.
about? That's a complete stereotype. That's a complete stereotype.
Yes, and stereotypes are all true.
It's a racist stereotype, what you're saying.
Oh, racist! Give me a break.
What are you going to do with the thousands of Muslims,
We certainly
American citizens, who are serving in the military?
I'm sure that we just couldn't possibly survive with all those Muslim Navy Rangers. Yes, I'm sure that's true.
That is not right.
No, I'm talking
You
about
cannot make
Muslim.
fun of people who are saving our lives.
They want special holidays and special food.
So if you don't like their
School
religion,
restaurants,
you don't have to join them. That's fine.
No, they are-
But,
wait,
but
I'm
also,
not-
but you can't discriminate against them simply
course.
because you.
Of course, anyone should have the right to discriminate against anyone he wishes. And the point is...
But not by the law, Mr. Taylor. You can't do that.
I think the law is absolutely incorrect.
Do you feel that whites are superior, are more intelligent than blacks?
I think, on average, whites are more intelligent than blacks, and North Asians are more intelligent than whites.
How can you say that?
How can you think otherwise?
Mr. Taylor,
what evidence would you have to think that a pygmy is, on average, is just as intelligent as a Dane? Why would you think that? The entire record of history is completely consistent with the assumption that black Africans are less intelligent on average than Asians or Caucasians.
That's absurd. That's repugnant and absurd.
Repugnant to you?
Yes, of course.
Why would you even entertain the possibility that on average a pygmy is as intelligent as a Japanese?
The comparison that you are trying to make, it is simply impossible because of historical circumstances, because economic conditions, because of the
More
movement.
excuses. We have to be willing to say to all those who are non-European, we wish you well, but this territory is for us. And sorry, we have the right to be us, and only we can be us.
This regressive mindset is destroying people. It's not allowing them to experience life to its fullest, and it's keeping them hating one another for things that cannot be changed about themselves. So, this is one of those instances where I'm going to be intolerant. I am intolerant to intolerance. Right, the people who fled the European model wanted to start something exactly the same over here. Is anyone going to tell them that there's undocumented whites in this country? Anyone want to let them know about the Constitution? Someone want to fill them in on the mindset of people fleeing religious persecution in the Middle East? You're trying to turn it into whatever you want. Oh no, what are you going to do when you have to exist on the concepts of merit and the content of your character? How dense do you have to be saying someone wants more, like there's some gold-hoarding dragon, when you're just not giving anything up whatsoever, even for proportional representation? Scared. You're scared. Because you know that the way that you treat minorities is completely inhumane, and you believe that these people are just as depraved as you are. But they're not. And Jared, you're kind of proving your own point, but not in the way that you think. What the fuck do you think Latinos are? That's entropy, brother. The only thing that doesn't change is the fact that everything changes. Do you think Mexicans are the only ones who keep chickens? Have you ever met a white lady in a brunch hat who hasn't talked about wanting to start a coop of her own? This guy has never picked up a weapon for his country in his life. Our tribal ape instincts still continue to have an influence on how we exist in society when it comes to our skin color and what happens to be between our legs. But that's not what makes us us. What makes each person themselves is what makes them themselves. Kind of reductive, right? It's the things that we enjoy doing. It's the things that interest us. It's the knowledge that we have. It's what we can bring to society that is not our amount of melanin or what's underneath our clothing.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. You know, the funny thing is that, I fail to understand how European Americans, they normally don't like being called European Americans,
they'd prefer being called white Americans, and any other ethnicity should be called by where they believe they came from.
Right. And I saw a very interesting comment from where we got the video on TikTok, and somebody asked the person who was being interviewed they asked him, how many undocumented white people are in America for him to start saying that all immigrants should be taken out of America, all black Americans should be chased away, and all Asians should be chased away so that America can remain a
white-only society.
Exactly.
And I believe that it's not only the Mexicans, Latinos, or Africans, or other people of color who have some people who are undocumented. I believe there are white Irish people who are undocumented. I believe people from France, there are a good number who you will find are undocumented, but because of their skin color, they'll never be suspected of being undocumented. I believe there are so many people. And then when he said that even their military could survive without POCs, and he specifically went for the Muslim brothers and sisters, and he said they all, the ones who are serving in the army, they all should be deported back to their origin, places of origin.
This is coming from a good place. I hope they do, so that we see how America survives, you know, because I do believe such people have never held a weapon to go defend their countries, and they're the first people to put those ones who do the job for them, to put them on blast. You understand?
Yeah.
And
of course, I do understand the problem that is immigration, and especially people who go into America without documents. But you see, these people are not
Black Americans also fit into this, to the point where
he is including even Black Americans, people who've had citizenship from way back, 400 years back, they've been in America. And then his policy, and also Trump's policy, they don't only want to send undocumented people back to their countries of origin. Now, those ones, we do understand why they should be sent away. Even in our country, we wouldn't allow undocumented people here, right? But they also want to send people who
the denaturalization process.
Yes, people who got citizenships through naturalization. And then, you know, I saw a very interesting thing on TikTok whereby there was also a country, I don't know if it was a Caribbean country or Nigeria. I'm not sure. It was either a Caribbean country or a Nigeria. It was here in Nigeria where white people who didn't have documents, they were also, no, it was in Mexico. Yeah, it was in Mexico. There are a couple of white people who own Front Beach properties. They own a lot of businesses in Mexico. They are not paying tax, and they're undocumented, and they don't have also proper documentations for their businesses. Yet they are not paying taxes in Mexico, and they're taking from the economy. You know, unlike the immigrants in America who are actually adding to the economy. These ones, they're taking from the economy. So Mexican government is cracking down on those palm-colored people and wants to deport them to America the same way they're doing to Mexican citizens.
Yeah, you know, to be honest, you guys, I feel like at some point, I wish they'll have to be a balance. People would just come together and coordinate, because there's no way a European American is gonna come and sit down and say that they want America to belong to only whites, when originally it didn't even belong to them. Came as settlers, you know. Yeah. So who are they to say that they want every other person who is not palm-colored looking to be taken out of America so that they can enjoy the borders of their own white society, you know?
Yeah, of which, you know, I foresee a situation where, of course, removing the immigrants who are undocumented, it will be easy and it will be good for Americans, right? But then the problem will start to stem when the government starts to go for real Americans, like Black Americans who've been born, raised, and they have everything in America, because they want to do some kind of ethnic cleansing or whatever to be an only white society, you get. So I feel like a big problem, because Black Americans are not going to go anywhere with their mouths shut. Mexican Americans, I don't know how they'll fight for themselves, because anyway, we are waiting to see how this plays out, because after they've
and this was it wasn't a recent interview. Someone was feeling like this, and they felt comfortable to go sit down and talk about this.
And that was way before Trump became president.
And right now, Trump is president, and you see some of what his wishes and what he was talking about is happening right now. You know, I'd like to see America in say 5 years from now. You know, I just would like to see how it looks.
Right. And then after Trump, I also am eager to see after 5 years where and what America will look like, you know. And
one of the fears this guy was highlighting was he didn't want a situation where Hispanic people come to lead to become
a majority population in America and become majority leaders in the government.
And he was saying if they let America continue being what it is right now, Hispanics are going to be the biggest demographic, you know.
And then them, they're going to turn into minority.
Right. And then one thing I'm telling myself is, why would this be such a concern or fear to you? And it's because you know what a minority is in America, and how you know
treat minority.
Exactly, how palm-colored people treat minority groups, you know, and they are in fear that things
the
are gonna
treatment will be rendered to them too.
Right.
And this palm-colored person who was analyzing this situation, even he can see it, and he agrees that palm-colored Americans are very nasty towards other groups, but he also made observation that other people of color and black people, they're not as vindictive, as conniving as palm-colored people, and that's why, as per his observation, he doesn't think Mexicans even the government one day, if that ever happens, would do to white people what white people have done to them.
Let's just say black people have a soul, so other groups also, to some extent, they do have a soul. It's only the palm-colored people, because
need to find their soul.
The history, they don't have one, because the history of how they've been behaving towards other people,
nothing but barbaric nature.
Exactly.
Right. And then, you know, I wanted to emphasize on the part where he says that palm-colored people have the highest IQ than black people and African people, and then followed by North Asian people. And then I'm just asking myself, as the other analyst, the palm-colored analyst asked, as per whose measures was this determined? Was it a white person who was determining this, or was it a group of different color people who determined that eventually Africans are the dumbest? Because, you know, there's no way
that everything they normally say, the worst ideologies given to the black community.
The black community.
I refuse to believe that, because I know it's not a fact, you know.
And you know, there is no way that a full-grown old palm-colored person would want to compare the intelligence of a nation that has been given everything to the intelligence of a nation of people who've been denied and plundered everything from. Case in example, right now Africa is still being colonized, whether it's financial or economic or through elections. You know, Africans do not really control what really truly happens here in the ground, because the colonial masters still have their hooks on Africans. Now, this fully grown palm-colored person wants to compete with Africans on the ground, whereas the resources rendered to these two groups are not the same kind of resources that have been availed to palm-colored people and black people to take advantage of in the same manner. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, from the get-go, palm-colored people have always had the tools of control.
I wonder why.
The tools of control from propaganda, from media, from how they operate, from colonization. And these tools of control, they've never really lost it. Whereas Africans, they've always been controlled. From colonization, from how the media portrays of Africa, from, you know, even what their governments allow their citizens to grow in their farms, is things that the American government has to be okay with in order for Africans to do. This is because they're being given loans through the IMF, you know.
And I wonder why Africans still have to be prisoners in terms of mindset, you know.
Not only mindset, but also economy.
And this if they could do what China did and break out of that would be a true show of power, you know.
And then, you know, someone who controls the history, because they control our history books, they detect what Africans should be taught and what Africans should not be taught. So this has to be a very small-minded person for him to compare his intelligence, an intelligence that has not been altered, because they try to protect them from the evils they did in terms of colonialism and slavery. So he has to compare his very filtered IQ to the IQ of Africans who are also still under colonization, especially through the materials they are taught in school. And because our syllabus is what is it called? Our syllabus has to be approved by these white people.
And you know, guys, if I can give you a very good example, and this is not even to tap anybody on the back, you take an American student, let's just say right now it's said that Nigerians are the most intelligent
African immigrants where they go.
Right, they're the most intelligent, and when you put a Nigerian in a room and a white student, and Nigeria is for sure going to know, like, academic wise, they're gonna excel in sports, they're gonna excel in whatever it is that they get into, they're gonna excel
when the playing field is leveled.
So let's take Nigeria aside. We are in Kenya right now, right? In Kenya, there was a situation, a certain period of time where a lot of no jobs in Kenya. So what Kenyans used to do, the youths in Kenya, they used to do assignments for students in America and Europe, and that is how they used to earn their money, to the point where that was what provided rent for them. That was a lifestyle. It's what provided their lifestyle for them, and it became such a huge problem for the American society and the European society, the schools, that it got to a point where BBC had to report on this issue. So if you search, you'll find it. Africans, Kenyans,
these are the people who are being called stupid, yet they are doing the homeworks of the medical
students in America.
Yeah, they're doing the homework of the kids of such kind of palm-colored people.
So guys, with that, we'll just let you do your own analysis. And personally, the fact that someone calls you dumb or someone calls you brainless does not mean you have to sit down and take it. You don't need good publicity for you to know that you can
good
do
or
the
excellent. Job the same way they can do the job. Because right now I usually say the only thing that gives palm-colored people control is the fact that they have atomic bombs, stuff like that. The same weapons, should they be brought to Africa today, or should Africans invent them today? Africa will control the world just the same as America or Europe or China controls the world.
But my thing is, yeah, I get what you're saying, and that is very true. But also at the same time, I really wish that Africa can learn a lesson and
leaders too.
Exactly, and do something, that just one thing different from what they've been doing, to allow the Western control to still have a hold on them.
And if it starts by leadership.
It starts by leadership. If Africa could do just one thing to make it different, for like what China did, right now China sits at the same table America and Russia does. Why? Because they leveled up. Can you imagine the kind of power Africa would yield if they leveled up and sat on the same table? Africa would be giving conditions before their minerals. Just a minute. Africa would be giving conditions before their minerals get out of the continent. Africa would determine the what is it called? They would determine the conditions of trade, the fairness that people should be getting, and we would be, to be quite honest, we're gonna be much further in life, you know.
So guys, let us know what you think about this episode, and also consider subscribing if you've not yet subscribed to our channel. And we'll see you on our next episode.